Good morning, make today a happy day. Hello, good morning, I am the OBG and welcome to the OBG show. Today I'm going to do a little quick snippet. It's called Rocky, Race and the Hollywood Punch. Let's go. I think it's often overlooked that race is rarely discussed in Hollywood films when people talk about race, and now it's become a kind of talking point because of Black Lives Matter and so on. But it's really discussed how the power of Hollywood films has a hold on us. You'll often have people, including ourselves, discussing the credibility of a film, the setting, the characters, or the story. And this prevails over people talking about real life in many instances. We simply accept that which is presented to us on film, allow it to reside deep in our psyche, then we argue that we know the difference between film and real life. And I beg to differ. And this happens whenever I present somebody with a challenge. Of course, film represents real life, but ultimately, they're still just films. Now, there is a term called whitewashing, and it's applied to white history, glossing over black history in books, films, and all other forms of media. And in recent years, more people are using whitewashing to describe the practice of casting white actors as non-white characters, which I believe detracts from its strongest referral, whereby larger long-term historical events are manipulated to drive, a new narrative. And I consider myself a film fan, a critic, and knowledgeable regarding film, filmmaking, actors, and acting. And one of the films that I really have enjoyed, even on repeated viewings, is a 1976 film, Rocky. Now, in this film, Rocky Balboa, played by Sylvester Stallone, he's a small-time boxer from working-class Philadelphia who's arbitrarily chosen to take on the reigning world champion, Apollo Creed, who's played by Carl Weathers, when the undefeated fighter's scheduled opponent, has an injury. Now, the film went on to become the highest-grossing film of that year, pulling in an amazing $225 million worldwide, which would equate to around about 1.18 billion in today's money. And the film received critical acclaim, and that all went towards Sylvester Stallone's writing because he wrote the script on his own, his performance, and of course the story. And Rocky also received 10 Academy Award nominations and won 3, including Best Picture. Now, some publications, they herald it as one of the greatest films of all time, which is another issue whereby we disregard non-American films, as well as one of the issues that arises because people are unaware of, well, they're newer, but, Nollywood and Bollywood and, the Italian films which were coming out in the 60s and 70s, which I think were, fantastic quality films, Greek films and many other countries also. And because Hollywood has this stranglehold, whenever we talk about the greatest films, people often talk about Hollywood because they refuse to watch anything else. So saying Rocky is one of the greatest sports films ever made, it's very hard to disagree with. Now, Rocky and its theme song, Eye of the Tiger, performed by a group called Survivor, they became a pop cultural phenomenon and an important part of 1970s American popular culture with a global reach. And in 2006, the Library of Congress selected Rocky for preservation in the United States National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant, and this can't be denied. Now, the reason I'm here, if you're sensitive to race issues, switch off now or temper your manner and let me know your thoughts in the comments. And even if you're not sensitive, let me know your thoughts in the comments anyway. So, I was watching a documentary which focused on the fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. And among those whose opinions they asked were Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, Ricky Hatton and several other world-class boxers, all people that had fought their way to glory. Then in a sudden switch, the camera cut to Sylvester Stallone. And as much as I like his work, even outside of his Rocky films, something inside me broke that day. And I spoke out loud to the camera. I talked to the emptiness and I said, why is Sylvester Stallone being asked his opinion? And in all honesty, he said nothing of any value, although he made what I consider an embarrassing attempt to sound like he knew what he was talking about. And I don't hold it against him because I believe actors sometimes become convinced that they're the part that they replay in, and they refuse to turn down opportunities presented to them without consideration to the effect that it's going to have on them. Then something I've been formulating for a while suddenly became complete that day at that exact moment. Rocky is not real. Now, I already have a love-hate relationship with film goers, Hollywood, predictive programming, and most of all, whitewashing in film. And if you think back to this era when Rocky was made, in which white America yearned for a white hope, it comes as no surprise that they created a hero on celluloid, presented him to the world, and buried his fantasy character deep into the minds of the people. Rocky is not real. That's what dawned on me. And you can see posters of the Rocky character in any boxing gym, and he soon becomes a part of any populist discussion around boxing in real short time. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong having fictional heroes. It isn't a bad thing at all. We've created stories of heroes from Hercules to Bodicea and characters such as Sherlock Holmes to Miss Marple, and we can draw inspiration from all of them. There's no doubt about that. However, having Rocky inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame is accepted by almost everybody. Yet to me, it's akin to having Luke Skywalker in the NASA Historical Space Exploration Museum. And even the pundits that I've challenged who claim that Hollywood brainwashes people with their stories had a hard time switching the chip when presented with my thesis. This spoke volumes to me, and it reinforced to me how deeply entrenched Hollywood films and other great stories serve to alter our beliefs. It's a tough call, but sometimes we have to do what's right instead of doing what feels good. I am the OBG.
Push now, think push with.